Hello YouTube, welcome to my YouTube channel and Bella, and today I am going to be doing a film review. I'm going to be reviewing the new film Priscilla. I know it came out in 2023, but I'm reviewing it now. It's a 15 in the UK. I know in America it is rated R, and for good reasons, which we'll get on to. It's 1 hour and 53 minutes, and it is entirely from Elvis Presley's wife's perspective. So it's her view of what happened throughout their whole relationship. Is based on her book. I know that the late Lisa Marie Presley didn't want it filmed for how it was going to make her father look, and I fully get that and I fully respect that. But what people seem to forget is Elvis is a product of the 1950s. He wasn't progressive with social issues. Obviously with civil rights he was, but women's lib didn't sort of come on his radar, to be fair. Plus he was caught in a trap with the whole Colonel Parker thing, but we're not getting into that because that's Elvis's issue. That isn't Priscilla's story. And I know people have complained about the ending of this movie. Spoiler warning if you need one. The fact that it just shows her driving off away from Graceland. And I'm like, well, yeah, she spent the majority, of her adolescence and early 20s in Elvis's shadow, waiting for him to call her, being what he wanted in his image, enjoying his interest in martial arts. Yes, we know she had an affair, we're not even going to go into that. So you can understand why she, as a woman, would want some independence, and Elvis would never understand that because he had his own deal going on that we're not going to go into. I fully get that people might be a bit shocked, like, surely he didn't speak to her like that and he didn't throw things. And I'm like, he was a man under a lot of stress. I think he probably did speak to her like that sharply because he wasn't used to being questioned, he wasn't used to being said no to, he wasn't used to saying, hey up, can we think about this in a different way? And I do think that there was some violence. I'm not going to say a lot, but there was some violence, and it was normalised. It's 1950s. Domestic violence wasn't seen in the 1950s the way we see it today. Even in the 60s, it wasn't seen the way we see it today. And people certainly didn't have the support of leaving their husbands if they were domestically violent. People were expected to stay in the relationship. For the children, it was seen to be bad to get divorced, particularly in America. But even in the UK, it took a long time for people to go, right, domestic violence is not a great situation for anybody, let's divorce and move on. It took a long time for that to become accepted, and even in some places it still isn't. I'm not saying that's why Elvis and Priscilla divorced. Everybody knows that it was amicable. In fact, they held hands going into the courtroom and they left holding hands, leaving the courtroom when they were getting a divorce. And in fact, the divorce enabled them to have a far better relationship, and Lisa Marie ended up getting better parenting or better quality time with her father because he had to book it in. See, that's another thing that people don't take into consideration. If you're there all the time and you have, say, a spouse that has difficulty separating work from family time, getting divorced from them actually forces them to have concentrated family time with their children. Just pointing that out. So there is that. Not that that's got anything to do with this movie. This movie, people have said it's somber, it's slow, makes Elvis look like a paedophile and various other things, and you're just sort of like, this is 1950s. They didn't have the set age of consent. In fact, in America, the age of consent varies from state to state. The age at which you get married varies from state to state. And in fact, sometimes it's vastly different from the age of consent, the age at which you can get married. And they don't have a federal one. It's all state done. So the age of consent is different. The age at which you can get married is different in each state. It really is state controlled, and in fact there are a lot of teenage American brides, which is shocking because sometimes that's the difference from the age of consent, the marrying age, and it's a whole mess. In the UK it's very, very simple. Now the age of consent is 16 for all kinds of sex. It's 18 for having sex with a trusted adult like a policeman or a teacher, and for getting married it is now 18 for everybody. It used to be 16 with parental consent. That's now gone up to 18 because of the arranged marriage culture within some cultures within the UK. So basically 18 for getting married, 16 for having sexual intercourse. That's the UK. In America, it is vastly different. It depends on which state you're in, and it depends on how old the person is to you. It's basically a mess. It's not streamlined at all. And it's taken a long time actually for people to get into their heads that a 30-year-old marrying a 19-year-old is not a great idea. Cough, cough, Princess Diana and Prince Charles. See, that was the 1980s. Very, very different time. It took a long time for people to think actually young people between the ages of 15 and 25 should actually have some time just being a young person and not marrying. That's a relatively new phenomenon. People have called it kid adulthood. I don't care. I think it's a very good thing that young people find their feet before deciding to settle down and get married and punch out a whole load of children. Not that a lot of millennials or Generation Z can do that or afford to do that. Anyway, back to reviewing this movie. I liked the tone of it. I did actually like the message of it. It was very interesting seeing that when Elvis was in his downtime, he was behaving like a teenager. So you had the golf cart, you had this, you had that, had all these entertainments. But you felt that Priscilla was doubly trapped because she couldn't leave the house. So yes, she could go horseback riding, but it was only in Graceland. She couldn't leave. So she was doubly trapped because Elvis could get out and perform on stage and then come back to his gilded cage. Priscilla was trapped constantly in the gilded cage. Two things that I found particularly difficult. One, that she wasn't allowed any friends over from Catholic school. I thought that was wrong. And two, that she was basically blocked out from the business side of it. She used to go and talk to the secretaries and they blocked it out, and in the movie they did show that. But another thing was that she wanted to get a job in a boutique, like a little part-time job, just to keep her busy, just, you know, so that she's got something to do. And Elvis was like, no, you can't have that. But from a security perspective, I fully see how that would be awkward. But it was how he said it. He says, no, you can't have a career. I've got a career. That's how this is going to be. Comes back to Elvis and not down with the women's liberation movement. He's a child of the 1950s. You have to accept that. His music is brilliant. He did not like the Beatles because they had more creative freedom than he did. Thank you, Colonel Parker, for that. But as John Lennon said, before Elvis, there was nothing. And this isn't critiquing him as a musical artist. This is about his relationship with his wife. And I think that this film covers that wonderfully. I love the scene where she's walking so carefully and she's about to go into full-blown labour with Lisa Marie, and she puts another load of eyelashes on and does the makeup so that she's absolutely perfect. That says something about American society, regardless of Priscilla being Elvis's wife. That really does, and I felt that. Overall, I'm giving it 5 out of 5. I know people have moaned and complained and grumbled and all sorts about this movie, but I think it's 5 out of 5. It allows Priscilla to have her say on it. It's not judgmental. She just says how it is. This is how it was. We were both trapped. Everybody in this arrangement was trapped, from Colonel Parker to Lisa Marie to Priscilla to Elvis themselves. It really was a difficult situation. And what I did like particularly about this movie is Lisa Marie. It showed that she was very much a daddy's girl, even when she was with her mother. I thought that was interesting in itself. So I hope you've enjoyed this review. Please like, comment and subscribe. I'm hoping that you're staying safe wherever you are. Bye!